Welcome back to Scraps and More. I'm going to give you a very short tutorial on how to make the tag that goes for the snowman that we had done previously on the other video. This one here is a Victorian Santa. It's very easy to do and it doesn't really take a whole lot of time to make it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically show you some simple steps on how to make this. First of all, if you have a pre-cut, already made tag, you can use those, or if you don't, there's a place online called allthingschristmas.com printables, and I'll give you that website. Should be across the bottom of this little segment. You can go in and you can actually align these into another program and make these printable, and you can make as many copies as you want. It is a free site, by the way. I've checked it out, so you can downsize the pictures to the size that you want or make them bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take from this one, I've cut out one already. And what we need to do is we need to add the embossing that actually goes around the outer edge of this, which creates that gold effect. So we're going to use Top Boss embossing pad. And what we're going to do is we're just going to lay just the corner edges right on the embossing, because we don't want to have the entire picture embossed. So we're just going to kind of dampen and use our fingers to kind of slide back and forth, and you will see just a very slight transparency of a pink block that you'll add right around the corner. If you turn it just right, you'll be able to see the sheen around it. Try not to use your other fingers to wipe it off, because that's where the powder and stuff is going to be added. So basically you don't have to be real fancy about it, just kind of get as much on there on all four corners as you can. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use some embossing powder. I like to use the gold. It's very fine, really super fine, so it will actually melt faster and it doesn't leave any graining effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle the embossing powder all around the edges. We're just going to basically kind of take off some excess there. And it doesn't have to be completely perfect as far as the coverage around. It can be a little less, a little bit more, because every print that you make is going to be completely different. Then we're going to need to use an embossing tool. These you can pick up most any place at Michael's or Joann Fabrics of any size. We want to start by heat it up a little bit first. And what I like to do to hold it, because it gets very hot, is I like to use like my poker again, much like whenever I was stuffing things. Got to give it a minute here to kind of start as far as to heat up. Once it does, it'll start to melt around the corners. And for this one, there's not really a whole lot of embossing around it, but that's okay. And we have so far, and it's all dry as far as for touching for your fingers. We want to do, the next thing we want to do is we want to add a mat to go around the bottom back behind it. It just kind of makes it pop and gives it more of a professional look to it. So you can use just about any kind of scrap, color coordinated cardstock. I have scraps, I have tons of scraps of leftover things. So I'm going to be using some of the original dark blue that I had for this one. To attach it, I'm going to use double-sided tape. I love Scotch double-sided tape because it's a permanent adhesive. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can put a couple of smaller strips if you'd like on the back. I know that I'm going fast on this, so. And we don't really have to measure as far as where to place the top piece on the back. I just kind of eyeball it to kind of create a border. And once I have that, I can just basically just cut away the same distance nearly on the other side. And if it's just a little bit thinner, you can always trim the other side down to kind of match it. Okay, so therefore we've got this already. It's the mat part of it around into the back. Now we want to add the hole, and I have what's called my big punch. There's different dials that you can set this on. What we want is we want the very first punch, and that's going to be 1/8 of a hole. So, and the lever will actually come down right along in here, and that will create the hole that we need. So we're going to put this right in the middle or somewhere close into the middle, and we're just going to punch down and create the hole that we need. The hole is actually in there. And then the last step, we're going to use some jute string. We're going to fold this over, probably around, say, after it's folded, about 8 inches in length, give or take, you know, a few centimeters. It's a preference call. It's whatever you're going to attach it to. You want to make sure you still have enough length to wrap around the object that you're using. And then all I do is I just make a simple knot at the 2 raw edges for that. And then I slip the other loop around and feed the very end through, and there you got it. So it's very simple to do. Whenever you're adding it to your snowman for this, whenever you wrap it around on its neck and that, if it happens to be too long and it lays too long, you can always readjust it by shortening the knot in the back. So basically that's about what it takes to make one of your tags. So I hope you enjoy this segment, and I hope you make many tags for whatever project that you're going to have. I'll see you later.